Well, hello everyone and welcome to the midweek recap number 14. Today we will be going through the latest news in the world of motorsport, and of course it is race week this week, and we will preview the Eifel Grand Prix taking place at the Nürburgring, which is set to be an interesting one if the weather forecast is anything to go by. So, before we go into everything, let's just remind you that the RaceWeek website launched last week, so make sure to give the RaceWeek website a visit, where there's going to be some posts about some interesting topics, as well as some more content which will be coming over the coming weeks. RaceWeekblog.com is the website, and make sure you follow us on Twitter at RaceWeek_show. Also, don't forget, leave a like, comment and subscribe to the RaceWeek YouTube channel for more of RaceWeek's video content. So, let's go, without further ado, let's go in to the news. The first bit of news came out this morning, and that is a member of the Mercedes team has tested positive for COVID. Mercedes have used their protocols. It doesn't look like it's going to affect their participation in this weekend's race, although apparently it's going to make some jobs a little bit more tricky, but we hope that the person that has tested positive will recover soon, and hopefully he will be back in the F1 paddock as soon as it is safe for him to do so. The other bit of news over the past week, of course, I have talked about this a lot already, which is Honda's shock withdrawal from Formula 1 at the end of 2021. Now, of course, on this channel, I did do a video about what this potentially means for Honda, for Red Bull in the future. And there has been rumours going around that there were rumours circulating that they might actually come into contact, make their own engines with assistance from Mugen, which are a company that is associated with Honda, and Honda are okay with their engines being developed, and that they'll be okay to give some form of assistance going forward. So that would be an interesting, Red Bull might be trying to achieve that, considering that they will want to maintain their works team status. Of course, in IndyCar, we saw take place with two fairly exciting races that we saw at the Harvest GP at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which saw Joseph Newgarden win the first race after a battle with Colton Herta and Rinus VeeKay. Colton Herta would eventually drop back due to tyre issues. Rinus VeeKay dropped back, but then was able to fight his way up to third. It was Newgarden who won ahead of Alexander Rossi in second and Rinus VeeKay in third. And then in the second race, which took place on Saturday, Will Power just fended off Colton Herta to take the victory. He led most of the race, and he just managed to fend off the Andretti car of Colton Herta, the Andretti Steinbrenner car, and just managed to take the victory. While Scott Dixon did not have a great weekend, having been so dominant at the start of the year, he's now had 4 bad races, 2 10th places at Mid-Ohio, and a 9th place in the first race at the Harvest GP, and an 8th place in the second race at the Harvest GP. His championship lead has gone down to 32 points, which means, unexpectedly, we could not have thought this was going to happen at the start of the year, but the title is going to be going down to the final race in St. Petersburg. And that is set to be an interesting one, because we've got a title battle between Scott Dixon, Joseph Newgarden. I believe those two are the only two that can win the title. A double points race for the season finale. So, considering the unpredictability that IndyCar can provide, and also St. Petersburg typically does produce exciting racing, this could be quite a nail-biting finale. And of course, the big news in the motorsport world, which something that has been doing the rounds a lot, was Luca Corbieri in a karting race. As you can see, he had a bit, it can be said, he had a bit of a meltdown. What happened was it seemed that he had contact with another driver, which sent him into the wall, and it can safely be said he was not happy about the incident, because he then proceeded, what he proceeded to do was unbelievable. He proceeded to walk onto the track carrying his bumper, having ripped it off his own kart, and then he threw it at the driver that he believed had taken him out. This was really dangerous, most notably for himself. He put at real risk. He actually walked on, had his, as you can see in the still, he had his foot partially on the track as he did so. And it didn't even stop there. Not content with throwing his bumper at the driver that he believed was responsible, he then proceeded to beat him up in Parc Ferme. And he was then joined in on the act by his dad, who also helped him in fighting that other driver. Now, afterwards, Luca did issue an apology and say that he is pulling out of racing for good. But also the FIA the Italian motorsport body have come down hard on them as well, in the sense that they have been issued bans, not sure if suspensions. So I don't think it's lifetime bans, which is what a lot of people think that they should have got. But still, I think they will be out of racing for quite a long time. All these people, especially if Luca, probably forever if he doesn't want to return to racing. So that is the news. And there's not much to analyse. Obviously, there wasn't a race last weekend, so there's no analysis segment. So, without further ado, now it's time to look forward to the Eifel Grand Prix this weekend, taking place at the Nürburgring. The Nürburgring returns to the calendar for the first time since 2013, playing host to the Eifel Grand Prix, round 11 of the 2020 Formula 1 World Championship. With it being built on the site of the famous Nordschleife, the 5.148km circuit consists of 15 corners, which include the incredibly tight first corner, the final NGK chicane, which both are at the end of two DRS zones. With the track being set in the Eifel Mountains and in October, unpredictable weather is expected throughout the weekend. And if you're expecting a track guide, there were a few technical issues getting that set up, like a video lap around the circuit. So unfortunately, we weren't able to get that done before the midweek show. But there will be the track guide video, which will be up with the video lap tomorrow. So, but as I mentioned, the weather could be quite unpredictable this weekend. When people mentioned that they were going to go to the Eifel Mountains for a race in October, all everyone thought about was rain. And that has been the topic of discussion going into this weekend. On tomorrow, there is a 90% chance of rain, with 12 degrees expected. It's expected to be very cold this weekend. On Saturday, the chance of rain goes down to a 40% chance of rain, 8 degrees centigrade. Whereas on Sunday, we have a 50% chance of rain with 8 degrees. The thing is, if it rains with these cold temperatures, the rain, it's going to be hard for the rain to clear, which means that it could be quite tricky conditions out there going into this weekend's race. And that is what a lot of teams are expecting, and that could really be an equaliser. Obviously, rain is seen as the ultimate equaliser, and it could really be seen as it could really throw the cat amongst the pigeons, and we could be in for quite a crazy race on Sunday. So now let's go in to the team by team preview for this weekend's race. Bottom of the constructors table, Williams, I think, will welcome a potentially changeable conditions race, considering that it was that sort of thing that got them into the points last year with an arguably worse car. So I think that they will be quite happy. They could be rubbing their hands this weekend at the prospect of some points. You have to remember, if they score 1 point, they move ahead of Haas in the standings. Just like with Williams, all these back teams are really probably seeing this race as a potential opportunity to score some good points with the possibly changeable conditions that we might see. And considering that this will completely de-expose their issues with tyres, and we've seen earlier this year that Haas are quite good with strategical decisions in the wet. Likewise, Alfa Romeo will be hoping for a wet race, because it was a crazy race in Mugello which saw Kimi Raikkonen get into the points, and also a crazy race in Austria as well which saw Antonio Giovinazzi score a couple of points. This could be a good chance for the lower tier teams to score some good points. AlphaTauri's next, a midfield team. And last year in the German Grand Prix, which saw rain, that propelled Danny Kvyat to a podium position. So I'm pretty sure AlphaTauri will be rubbing their hands quite a lot at the prospect of some changeable conditions this weekend, because this could be a good opportunity, especially as Pierre Gasly went well in the wet in qualifying in the Styrian race. So the AlphaTauri is a reasonable car in the wet, so this could be a good weekend for them. A team, though, that is probably dreading this weekend is Ferrari. We saw how much of a monster the car looks to handle in the wet at the Styrian race, and the wet could potentially compound their issues. Although, on the other hand, when Ferrari have lacked pace, it has been wet weather races that have allowed them to succeed. But I'm not really sure that's going to be the case this year, considering their car. We are yet to really see how well the Renault is in the wet, but they qualified well in the Styrian qualifying session, so this could be a good weekend for them, with potentially the chance for a podium. Of course, you have to remember they're in quite a tight battle with McLaren and Racing Point in the constructors' standings. To be honest, I think Racing Point will be the team that will be least wanting a wet race, because that car seemed to struggle in the wet in the Styrian qualifying session, with a car out in Q1 and I believe another one out in Q2, from what I remember. So I'm pretty sure that they are dreading the prospect of rain. McLaren, looked quite mixed in the wet before, but it could be an interesting weekend for them to see, considering it's all expected that this could be a chance. If they can get the wet setup hooked, this could be a chance to get a really good result for them. I say that a lot of teams will be rubbing their hands at the prospect of rain, and the team that will be rubbing their hands the most is probably Red Bull, considering they have a decent car in the wet. We know how good Max is in the wet. And even though Lewis is really strong in the wet, the Mercedes team does have a little bit of variability when it comes to wet conditions. So I'm pretty sure Red Bull will be thinking, we have a chance this weekend. Of course, Mercedes, they will be really analysing how they can maintain their advantage in the wet this weekend. And we know that Lewis is very fast when it comes to wet qualifying sessions, and we could expect an incredible lap from Lewis if it rains in qualifying. However, in the race trim, we know, as I've said before, we know that Mercedes are not bulletproof in the wet. And as I said, Red Bull will be probably there to pounce if they make any errors. So that is the team-by-team review. And before I head off, there was a couple of other things. We have to say good luck to Mick Schumacher and Callum Ilott, who will be taking part in the first practice session tomorrow. For their sake, they'll be hoping that it's not wet tomorrow and they get a legitimate 90 minutes of running. So they can have a smooth first day in the car, in the hope that they will be in the racing. Look, it's looking likely that Mick Schumacher will be in Formula 1 next year, but obviously this will be a big thing to see how they get on. But that is it from the midweek recap, and we will see you tomorrow. As far as this weekend is concerned, the Friday recap will take place tomorrow after the practice. About an hour after the practice. I've not got the time to down yet, but I will be doing a post on the website later talking about the time for this weekend's Eifel Grand Prix recap shows. And then of course we have the Saturday recap and the Sunday, the race review. And of course there'll be no feeder Road to F1 review with there being no Formula 2 this weekend. But even without that, let's hope that we get an unpredictable race at the Nürburgring. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you check out the RaceWeek website at raceweekblog.com. Make sure you also follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/raceweek_show. And make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel for more RaceWeek content. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow for the Friday recap. Goodbye.